Okay. Leetcode number 3, longest substring without repeating characters. Let's get started. Given a string S, find the length of the longest substring without repeating characters. Okay. So our input is a string S, and we essentially want to find the length, right? So we're outputting some integer or some number. Length number, okay, number length. So if we're looking through this test case, it says the answer is ABC with the length of 3. Okay, so looking through here, okay, and it's without repeating characters. Oh, interesting. Okay, I would have thought repeating could have meant maybe like consecutive repeating, but no, it's just about unique characters. Okay. Okay. So as we move along this string, once we get to index 3, where the second A is encountered, the output, the current longest output is, or the current longest substring is ABC with a length of 3. Okay. And it seems like there are no other longer substrings. Like if we were to start at B, C, A, B, okay, so that's another length 3 substring, and then CABC. Okay, so CAB is the same length, so okay. And then BCB, so it's just BC, and then CB, B, so just CB, and then B and B. Those are all the possible substrings that have no repeating characters. Okay, let's look at another example. All right, so this one's kind of contrived, but it's just an input with all the same characters. Okay. So number 3, the answer is WKE. Okay, so WKE. Okay, and that makes sense. Okay. And then PWKE is a subsequence, not a substring. PWKE. Wait. Okay, so it's a sequence. So there's a distinction between sequence and substring that they're drawing. Okay, and then they give us some constraints. So English letters, digits, symbols, and spaces. So it seems like pretty much any type of normal string character, given that it's, from the English alphabet. I would guess case. It doesn't say anything about case. All of the examples involve lowercase strings. Okay. But spaces are allowed, symbols are allowed. Okay, so I'm curious. Just English letters, digits, and symbols. So I think case matters. And I think it shouldn't matter, but I think we can get, so I think I'll probably have to standardize case. Okay, so think about our requirements here. Actually, let's think of some edge cases first. So we can think of like maybe like a string just of length. Oh, it can be of length 0, so it could be like this. And I'm wondering, I guess that would probably just return empty space. Well, actually, it would probably just return 0 because there are no substrings at all in the empty string. Another one might be like A. Okay, and then that would be length 1, so the return value is just the length of the input string. If we think about like A, B, or A, B, C, A, something like that, this should return, should probably return 3. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because this would sort of mirror the initial test case, AC or A, but instead of lowercase a, it's uppercase A. I think this still, well, is that a fair assumption to make? They don't really say anything about case. Let's go back to here. So the longest substring without repeating characters. I mean, capital letter A and lowercase a are both independent characters. So I actually think this would be 4. Given that, like, say it was like A, B, C, A, let me see, like B, C, D, just whatever. Something like that. Okay. So yeah. So then it'd be okay. So I think that's 4 because I believe these are unique characters, even though they represent the same letter, just in different case. Okay. Got some edge cases going here. Let's think about requirements again. So what is a unique substring? It's any sequence. Maybe I shouldn't use that word sequence. It's any, well, any set, any group of consecutive characters which contain no duplicates. Okay, and here we're essentially establishing that A is not the same as A. Okay. But A is equal to A. So, okay. I think that's fair. I think it's a fair requirement to state. What other requirements are there? Nothing's coming to mind right away. I am guessing, given the constraint here, that our solution has to be pretty efficient. So that just basically means we have to avoid anything where we're iterating, we're nesting loops, essentially. That's something we need to avoid, given that the input length can be pretty sizable. Okay. I'm struggling to come up with any other requirements. I guess just must be efficient. No nested loops or operations. I guess laborious operations. Okay. I guess that's the wrong word. Like just time inefficient. Inefficient operations. Okay. So how do I imagine this working? So it's always going to be, it can be of any length, really, like pretty much any length. And we just need to move across the string of characters incrementally. Okay, so if we're to like, let's grab this test case. Just think about it for a little bit. So we'll just place it down here. Let's get some space. All right, so if we're moving across this string, it seems like we would want to have like some way to keep track of where we started, like what represents a unique, or I'm sorry, a substring without repeating characters. So I guess like initially, like if we're just using some like sort of for loop or something, I would be 0. And I think we need like some other sort of pointer. So maybe we start Well, okay, if we're just like iterating across this, maybe we'll have like longest or just like max lang or something, and this would just refer to the maximum length of some longest substring without repeating characters. So maybe we just start at like 0. So let's say our input was actually like just an empty string. We would never iterate over anything here, and so eventually we just want to return max lang, and since it's already 0, that would be appropriate. So that works for that test case. So if we're moving across this string, we're starting at index 0, and then maybe we need like a temporary counter, temp lang. Okay, and that would be starting at 0. So then we've got, okay, there's at least one character in this string. So we would increment that. And then I think we would have to compare temp lang with max lang. And like every time, like so I guess every time we increment I, so as we move through the string, we would essentially be checking, okay, is the temporary length greater than the maximum length, and just reassigning max lang, I think, as we move across. And then as soon as we hit a character that we've already encountered in that particular substring, then, okay, then we would have to, I guess, sort of reset the temp lang, and yeah. Okay, and I think, I'm wondering, do we want to, I'm trying to think of how to like have us like remember where we started that current substring. Let's think about this. So if we're moving across, say we get to index 3, so we're encountering a character we've already seen before. Temp lang at this point would be 3, and then we would have set max lang to 3 as well. And index is just index 3, so we're here, we're encountering that A. So I guess what we want to do, maybe we need like the index that we first like started out counting from, and then maybe just like increment it by 1 to start at B. So then maybe, would we want to go backwards? Like set I back to whatever the next index or the next character's index would be. That makes sense. So that we would just be B, C, A. Okay. Maybe that makes sense. Just kind of playing around with this idea here. If we were to do that, does that make sense to do that? I think it does, because we really just like, well, okay, but this character is not always going to be the character that we encounter that is a duplicate. It could be here or something. So, okay. So I'm not sure if that approach actually works. Okay, let's think about this some more. So let's change the case around a bit. Something like this. Okay, so ampersand B A C A. Okay, so then it'd actually be this would be of length 4. Okay, so how do we do this? Okay, so if we're thinking, so it gets to here, so it's length 4, so temp length is 4, and max length is also 4 at this point. And we're at index, let's use like a little arrow or something. Okay, so, boy. All right, so moving along. Okay, index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. We get to index 4. and that's where we encountered the duplicate character. So I think we want to start counting from C again. So the character after the duplicate, the initial duplicate. Okay. So how do we go back that way? I was thinking maybe like index of, but that isn't going to work if we're calling that on the entire string. That definitely wouldn't work, because there could just be a bunch of the same character, and it wouldn't be the appropriate character. So we want to. So I think for this example, we want to, like, once we encounter this duplicate, we want to remember where its pair was, and then start counting from that index, from the next index. So building a string up from C, A, B, C. Okay, so we would hit this. That length was 3, and so temp length 3, it's not greater than max length. So then we'd want to, we would have gotten to here, and then we would want to step back and start at the A. So an A, B, C, B. Okay, so we would have gotten to this letter, and once we get to that letter, then we would want to step back to the element whose index is 1 greater than the duplicate. I think that makes sense. Let me check my time. 16 minutes, okay. So how would we remember the character? Well, if we, okay, index of is not very efficient either. Oh, I know what I need to do, I think. So I think once we, okay, so the way we do like the stepping backwards thing, I think we need to do it like dynamically, like with like maybe some, let's like maybe some, it's like once we encounter a duplicate, so I guess that means we need to, do I need to use includes? That seems really inefficient if I used includes. Maybe we want to like use a hash map or something. I think that might make sense. Then just like delete it every time we start a new substring. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So what I think I might do here is like we'll have this object. So like say if we start at the beginning, and we can just zero out everything. Back to 0, back to 0, back to 0. Okay, so we're starting here. Let's bring that up. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so we're starting at the ampersand. Index is 0. And we would essentially just be like adding these characters. So it'd be like ampersand. Oops. Where's that? There it is. Okay. Ampersand. And then like true. The value is arbitrary. Well, it's not technically arbitrary, but we need some like maybe truthy value. So once we have that, then we would move to the next element. So index is incremented by 1, and these are going to be also adding as we move across. I'm not going to do it this time, but we move on to B and then create that entry in our object. Okay. And then we move again. So now index is 2. And we're looking at the A. So we're checking, okay, have we encountered this? We have not, so let's create that entry in our object. Okay, and then once we reach, so eventually we're going to reach the duplicate, right? So A. So once we reach that, we need to remember, we need to grab that letter, right? So maybe, maybe I can actually, maybe I'll store the index here. So maybe like index of character, something like that. And that's just like, it's going to be some number, right? So, oh, and I'm not sure if that'll work for 0, huh? Because 0 is falsy. That would be pretty like sweet if I could do it that way. If I were to keep the index of the character, I think I can still do that. Yeah. Yeah, I think I can still use the person I'm thinking of using. So we'll just like access whatever the index was, and then we add some number to that. So the duplicate characters, they're at index. So for this one, A was at index 2. Okay. And we could perhaps we could even, well, no, let's not get too fancy here. So we would essentially just like using the character that triggered the break of our condition of the longest substring without repeating characters. We would just grab that character and access the value of that key value pair for that entry, and then we would add the I think we just increment it by 1, so we want to start at 3, right? So we want to start counting from here, and so we would 0 this out, so this would all just be gone. Just delete it and start over and build out that object again. Okay, I think that works. Yeah, that's kind of a loose understanding, but I think it should work. Let's move this out of the way. Just going to kind of place that up here. Okay, so thinking about essentially like our data flow here, right? We have a string, and we're going to want to transition that into, like, once we pass through our function, we want to return some number. So how do we get there? That's the question. So string to number. So along the way, I think we're going to use an object to store the characters of the current longest substring without repeating characters. And once we do that, there's going to be, eventually we want to return whatever the max length is once we reach the end of our for loop. Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Trying to think about how I'm going to implement that, but okay. So let's think about this. So what would work here? Well, let's remember we need to declare. Well, actually, let's guard for input s length of 0 or 1. So we need to guard for those. So like the test case of length 0, or if it's of length 1, both of those would be satisfied by this. Okay, or we would want to handle those early. And I think if we're at the algorithm correctly, we wouldn't actually need to do that. But yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, so let's think about this. We need to declare max length and initialize it to the value of 0. And we also want to maybe declare a counter. Declare counter, or maybe just declare index and initialize that to 0. Okay, and then we need some sort of looping mechanism to traverse our string. So how would we do that? What makes the most sense? Well, I don't think I want to use a normal for loop, and I can't use any of like the JavaScript abstractions. So I think a while loop is called for here. What's our ending or break condition for this while loop? Maybe if the current value is outside of the range, maybe. So like if something like the current element is undefined, that could potentially work. So maybe like loop through string characters, and our break condition, or I guess our looping condition, is while current character is not equal to undefined. Okay, so as soon as we're out of range, then we want to, well, maybe just as soon as, yeah, this is a little silly. Maybe just like while index is less than string length. Yeah. Okay. So that seems to make sense as far as our the tool we're going to use to loop through the string. Okay. So as we loop through, we also need a temp lang, right? So declare temp lang, and I think we need to do that outside of the loop. Yeah, and then just initialize that to 0, and yeah, I think we also need to declare a hash or a declare object. Okay, that's just gonna be like this. Okay, so once we have all of those variables and their respective values, we can start looping through the string characters one by one. So if we're looking at this test case, starting at index 0, and we're just we're essentially checking if our object, I'm going to call it dictionary, if dictionary contains current character, then we just want to, once we are there, so if the dictionary contains it, then we know that there's a duplicate or a repeated character. So this is when we are essentially breaking chain. And yeah, okay. So that's when we want to break the chain. And then otherwise, we just want to increment temp lang, and yeah. So then, yeah, we're just incrementing temp lang and then incrementing index. Yeah. Incrementing temp lang and incrementing index. And then as far as like the break chain stuff, I think the first thing we need to do is get value of repeated character entry. So we were thinking like up here, we want to get that index value and then just use that character. So essentially like extract the value, and that's going to be our starting index. So then we want to assign index to the above's value plus 1, because we want to get the next one, right? We want, like, say for this one, we get to the second A. So at index, what is that? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so at index 4, we need to get the value. So that's 2, and then increment it by 1. So then that's 3, and then we need to assign index, or I guess reassign index to that value of 3. So we start here at C. Okay. I think that makes sense. Yeah. So assign index of the above's value to the above's value plus 1. Okay. And then we also need to just like reset. That's not really a very technical term. I think there's a way to like just remove all the elements. I'm just gonna look that up real quick. All right, so remove all, remove all elements in an object JavaScript. Is it just objects from, okay, where is this? It's just clear. Okay. Oh, but that's for a set object. Well, we don't actually have to do it that way. We can just create a new object. Yeah. We're here. Okay, so reassign. Okay, so we're reassigning here. So reassign index to the value plus 1 and reassign object to empty object. Okay. Cool. So once we've done all of those things, and then I think here we would be like compare templang to maxlang. And actually, this might make more sense to do here. Yeah, I think it makes more sense to do it there. We don't need to do it every time as we're building the string. Okay, cool. So how much time do we have? We're at 30 minutes. Okay. I think I'm just going to try to implement at this point. So let's grab our pseudocode. Just grab that. Okay. I'm just going to paste it up here. Great. Okay. So first things first, we need a guard for string length 0 or 1. So if string length is equal to 0, you can just return 0. If string length is equal to 1, we can just return string, or we can just return 1. Okay. So now we need to declare some variables. Okay, got an empty object. And now we just need to set up our loop. So we'll do while index is less than string length. And actually, let's seeing a lot of repetition here. So while index is less than lang, do the following. Okay, so now we need to check if our object, so we'll just call this unique characters. Yeah, so unique characters, or maybe something more problem specific. Substring characters. Now let's just call it unique. Okay, so we want to check if dictionary, so if unique contains current character. So that's going to be, and let's grab current character as well. Const current character. And that's going to be string at current index. Okay, so then if unique current character exists, so if our object has that key, I think I need to store them as, because I want to avoid 0. Yeah. So reassign index develops value. So I think as we, yeah, and I'm also just forgetting this part. So if it doesn't contain that character, then we need to populate, or I guess add key value pair to unique. Okay, and the value is going to be whatever the index is of current character plus 1. Okay, so that gets us out of the issue of 0 being falsy. So if the unique current character, if it exists, if it contains it when we're breaking the chain, else we need to add that key value pair to unique. So do unique current character as the key, and maybe no, let's leave it there. Unique current character is equal to I, the current I, so that'd be the index of the current element, plus 1. So that's the first thing we're doing. We want to increment templang plus plus, and increment index. Okay. And now we got to get into what happens when we encounter a repeated character. where we're breaking the chain. So compare templing to maxlang. So if templing is greater than maxlang, then we just want to reassign maxlang to templing, because that would mean we'd have a new maximum length. Okay, and we need to get the value of repeated characters entry. So we'll just do like let start from index, and that's going to be the current character. So current character, the value of current character, so unique current character +1. Yeah. Okay, and then we need to reassign index. So index is reassigned to start from index. Oops. Great. Okay, got that. Okay. And then reassign object to an empty object. Okay. So then unique is just reassigned to a fresh object. Okay, so if we were to run through this just manually, let's think about this. And we want to return max lang. Okay, so think about the example we've been using. Where is that? Here, where is it? There it is. Okay. So we got this. Let's just grab all that stuff. Okay, so just look at it from right here. So we're not evaluating these yet. All of these declarations and initializations occur, and then we get into our loop. So while 0 is less than the length of the string, and the length of the string is like 7 or 8 or 9 maybe, yeah, 9, then we're going to loop. So we're declaring some variable, current character, and it's the current element in the string at whatever the value index is, or it's the element in the string at the specific index that we're at. So right now, current character is ampersand. So we're checking to see if our object unique has that entry. It does not have that entry. So we're creating that entry on that object. We're adding that property on the object and giving it some value. So its value is 1. Okay. And actually, we don't need this because we're incrementing it down here. Yeah. Don't need that. Okay. So we're incrementing templing. So now templing is 1 and index is 1. So then we move to the next index, and the same thing occurs. So now our object, if we're looking at our object here, it's going to be like ampersand. Actually, we've already done this. So it looks like this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Okay, and then we get to the character, the repeated character. So we get to A, and we're essentially accessing the value. So our object unique has that property on it, or it has a key that matches that letter. So we are checking here if the templang, so currently the templang would be 4. If it's greater than maxlang of 0, then we would want to reassign maxlang. So we do that, and then we access the value. So that value would be, the value was 4. So we'd grab that 4, and we'd reassign index to the 4. So that's where we want to start. Then we reassign unique to a fresh object. Okay, so now we want to start at index 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh. What was I thinking? Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we need to do it by... Okay, well I'm actually gonna run our code and let's just see where we're at because I think we're just getting really close time-wise. Okay, so we're looking, I is not defined. All right, so why am I, yeah, I'm just forgetting things. Okay, so index +1. Okay, so run our code again. Output is 14 because we're never reassigning. Yeah, we need to also set current lang. Yeah, it's temp lang to 0. Okay. Okay, so we're passing that test case. Let's see how we do with the other suite. Okay. Output is 0 and it's supposed to be 2. How many test cases did I make it through? Does it tell me? Let's see. We made it through a lot of test cases, but we didn't make it through this one. Okay, so why is it producing 0 instead of 2? Let's walk through this as an example. So do AU, and this should be 2. Okay, so insert the first element. We would populate our object, so it doesn't exist, and then we would add it again, right? So it would be temp lang is 1, and then temp lang is 2. Ooh, but do I need to? I think we might have to set this to maybe lang -1. It just seems like it's not. I mean, the problem here is that it seems like temp lang is. Oh, okay. So I think maybe I actually do need to do this in every iteration, maybe, because there's a situation where we never encounter a repeated character. So if that occurs, then this whole branch was never being evaluated, and that's where I had the temp lang, the like checking to see if temp lang was greater than max lang, and then reassigning max lang if it was smaller than temp lang. So I think this should work now because now we're doing it every time. I'm curious to. I think that's fine doing it this way. I think I identified the problem, which was just that we were never encountering a repeated character, and so we were never actually reassigning max lang from 0 to the new longest length. Okay, so we solved this problem, and it's super slow, which I'm definitely okay with that for now. Performance isn't the main component of doing these problems. But yeah, this was really fun. I think I sort of stumbled towards the end and struggled at the beginning to kind of get a foothold. I hope that you got something from this if you're still here and watching. I personally feel like I get a lot from these, so if you can get any value from them as well, that's wonderful. That's just an added bonus. But yeah, this is me working on my technical communication and just ability to code under pressure. And for me, the pressure is the camera and just kind of the time constraint. So yeah, this was really fun. Thanks for watching. Peace.